In my past life, Theo Lin and I were known as the model couple in the military district. Although we had no children, we supported each other until old age. But it wasn't until after my death that I realized what I thought was mutual devotion turned out to be nothing but a joke. What he could never forget was the youthful white moonlight. Loved so much that my son kept calling another woman mom. Loved so much that he married her within a month after my death. Back to the 80s, this time. I let go of myself and him. Sister-in-law, you're truly blessed. Look, just after finishing drills, Regimental Commander Lin is already bringing breakfast back. You don't even have to lift a finger. Sky Wang, who was doing laundry with her, teased with a laugh. I stared blankly at the man approaching, stunned. I had actually traveled back 30 years in time. It was the 3rd year of my marriage to Theo Lin, and in this very year, I gave birth to my precious baby. Only for him to pass away without me even seeing his face. I also suffered a massive postpartum hemorrhage that left me unable to conceive again. In this era where continuing the family line is considered paramount, Theo Lin not only withstood the pressure and didn't divorce me over it but also treated me even better than before. Every night when the world was quiet and emotions ran deep, he would gently kiss my eyes and hold me tightly in his arms, as if I were a precious treasure. Until the moment of my death, I always felt blessed to have married Theo Lin. After death, my soul lingered at home, unable to move on due to my overwhelming longing for Theo Lin. Little did I expect to witness how I had lived my previous life as a complete joke. Less than a month after his death, Theo Lin ostentatiously married his comrade's widow, Mila Bai, the crimson couplets bearing the words, 30 years of forced separation. Love letters failed to convey the song of longing. A century of sincere devotion, the red candle rekindles the dream of love, pierced my eyes like daggers. At the wedding, Theo Lin professed his love to Mila Bai with deep emotion. Your eyes remain as clear as they were in your maiden days. In the time to come, I shall repay doubly what I failed to give you and your son before. I, Theo Lin, pledged to Mila Bai, undying loyalty till death do us part, so the happiness I had believed in was nothing but a cruel joke after all. So this is what they call taking care of a comrade's widow. Just as I was drowning in regret for misjudging people, Theo Lin's hypocritical visit to my grave and his words made me wish I could kill him. When I was bleeding heavily and hanging by a thread, Theo Lin took my son and gave him to Mila Bai, simply because her own son had just died of a fever and he feared she couldn't bear the loss. Yet no one considered how many scornful looks I endured in this era for being childless. Or how I carried the guilt for 30 long years, believing it was my own fault, never finding peace, even in death. My little treasure also called someone else mom for 30 years without knowing the truth. What are you thinking about? You're about to tear the clothes. Captain Lin is waiting for you. Hurry up and finish washing. Sky Wang gave me a push. I suddenly looked up and saw Theo Lin walking toward me with a lunchbox, smiling warmly. He said gently, "Chiao Song, are you done washing? I got breakfast from the cafeteria. Let's go home and eat together." In my past life it was the same. This gentleness deceived me for a lifetime. No need. Before the words of refusal could be finished, they were interrupted by a woman's voice in the distance. From afar, only a figure in a dress could be seen, and in the entire family compound, the only one who would dress like that was Mila Bai. "Brother Lin, my flower stand collapsed. Could you go take a look for me?" Theo Lin, who had been standing casually, suddenly tensed up. He set his lunchbox aside and rushed over without even saying a word to me. In my past life, such incidents were countless. Sometimes, when I couldn't bear it anymore, I would cry and argue with him. He never argued back. Instead, he would just look at me coldly, saying I couldn't even tolerate the widow of a comrade in arms, and that a military wife shouldn't act this way. Then he would turn away and stop coming home. Sleeping in the office instead, it always ended with me admitting my mistakes and apologizing. Looking back now, I deserved it. Fortunately, fate has given me a second chance. In this life, I won't let myself become a laughingstock. I want to see if, without me in the middle, they can remain devoted till death. As for me, I only want my little treasure. Fortunately, he is only 3 months old now, so there's still time for everything. Right now, I have 2 things to do. One is to find evidence proving that the little treasure is my son. The other is to secure a job so that after divorcing Theo Lin, I can afford to support the 2 of us. With this in mind, I put down the washed clothes. Sky Wang, Could you take my clothes back for me? I've got something to deal with right now." Without waiting for her protests, I turned and ran. After wandering around the hospital like a headless fly for what felt like ages, I finally managed to find a doctor. Turns out there's this advanced technology now. Just by comparing a child's hair with mine, they can determine if we're mother and child. Only thing is, the military hospital here doesn't have the capability. If we want to do the test, they'd have to send the samples to a big city, and the whole process would take at least a month or so. Hearing this, I was so excited I nearly jumped up. Having missed 30 years, I could certainly wait a little longer. Xiaobao, just wait a little longer for mommy. With a heavy weight lifted from my heart, my steps became noticeably lighter. I began searching for work opportunities around the military district. The military district collaborated with various industries here to address the employment issues of military spouses in the township. Sure enough, before long, I spotted several job postings. Eventually, I stopped in front of the textile factory. In my previous life, I had almost ended up working there. But Theo Lin said he didn't want me to toil so hard outside or come home to a cold stove, so I gave up that hard-won opportunity and spent my life as a housewife, cooking at home. At this thought, a sharp pain pierced through my chest like a needle. This is the last time. From now on, there's only Song Qiao. The woman who lived for Theo Lin has been buried in her past life. As soon as I entered the office, I saw a bustling crowd inquiring about the recruitment, just like in my past life. The textile factory is looking for people skilled in embroidery this time, because the country now encourages earning foreign exchange, and this traditional handicraft is exactly what foreigners love the most. Coincidentally, my grandmother's ancestors were embroiderers in the imperial palace. As the only girl in her generation, she passed all her skills down to me. But during the special period in previous years, I didn't dare to show this at all. At most, I would mend clothes, and to this day, even Theo Lin doesn't know I can embroider. Soon, I found out that the topic of this exam was to embroider a handkerchief. Each person could take one handkerchief home and submit it after 3 days. The one with the best work would be admitted. Sister-in-law, you're here looking for work too. Is Captain Lu willing to let you? What's there to be willing or unwilling about? Chairman Maro said, "Women hold up half the sky. I also want to contribute my share to building our country." Ignoring the teasing looks from the other sisters-in-law around me, I squeezed into the crowd, grabbed a handkerchief, and filled out the registration form. For the next 3 days, I embroidered the handkerchief day and night. I completely neglected all household chores. This matter is too important to me. 3 days later, the handkerchief was completed. With excitement, I handed it over to the factory. Seeing the factory manager's delighted expression as he couldn't put it down, I knew my job was secure. Sure enough, when the textile factory announced the rankings, my name was at the top of the list. Looking at the name on the red paper, my tears nearly fell. I finally got the ticket to a new life. The next day, the sunlight was exceptionally bright, as if celebrating the new life that awaited me. To leave a good impression on the people at the factory, I woke up early and made sure to tidy myself up inside and out. Unexpectedly, when I entered the factory director's office in high spirits, I saw Theo Lin there, with Mila Bai standing beside him in a pink dress. Both were smiling and thanking the director. The director was taken aback when he saw me enter. "Comrade Song, weren't you unable to report due to health reasons?" Hearing this, I laughed in sheer anger. "Director, I'm perfectly healthy. I could run 10 laps right now without any issues. If there's no problem, I can start working immediately." The company leader gave Theo Lin an awkward glance. "I'm sorry, Comrade Song, but since it was Captain Lin himself who said you couldn't take the job and even recommended a suitable replacement, we've already completed the formalities." My nails dug deeply into my palms. So in my past life, when Theo Lin persuaded me not to take the job, it was all to make way for Mila Bai. This time, when persuasion failed, he simply took it by force. "I won't accept this." The factory director scratched his head, his gaze shifting restlessly among the three of us. "Let's proceed as we just discussed. I'll handle the rest, Comrade Bai. I'll trouble you to take good care of her," Theo Lin said decisively to the director, then turned and grabbed my wrist, dragging me out of the office. Just before leaving the office, I glanced at Mila Bai and gave her a gentle smile, though my eyes held undisguised malice. Suddenly, a wave of nausea surged through me. I forcefully shook off Theo Lin's hand and glared at him coldly. Why, on what grounds do you give away the job I worked so hard for to someone else? Theo Lin looked utterly impatient. Song Qiao, what's so bad about staying home without having to do anything? Mila has nothing left now and just wants to work to keep herself occupied. Can't you be a little more generous? And what would someone from the countryside know about embroidery anyway? Brother Lin, please don't argue with your wife over me. I'm not worth it. If your wife minds, I can give the job back to her. Mila Bai's eyes were slightly red, biting her lip as she spoke with a look of grievance. Mila, don't stoop to her level. This job was rightfully yours, Theo Lin said with a pained expression upon seeing Mila Bai on the verge of tears. Then, turning to me with even greater disdain, his voice filled with disappointment, Song Qiao, I thought you were someone who understood propriety, but you've let me down terribly. Apologize to Mila right now, and we'll consider this matter closed. Seeing the triumphant look in Mila Bai's eyes, I finally lost control and slapped Theo Lin hard across the face. Fine, give her the job, we're getting divorced. Without waiting for their reaction, I stumbled back home in a daze. Little treasure. Is mommy really so useless? I've lost my job, and you're still in her hands. Finally, I couldn't hold back any longer and burst into loud sobs, as if trying to release all the grievances of 2 lifetimes, crying until I fell asleep on the couch like that, until a glaring light woke me up. Song Qiao, you were so unreasonable today, acting like a shrew in public. Mila not only didn't hold it against you but even bought you malted milk as a gesture of goodwill. If only you could be as considerate. At the door, Theo Lin was still rambling on, but I could no longer hear a word he was saying. Staring fixedly at the child in Mila Bai's hands, I scrambled up from the sofa in one swift motion and walked over to Mila Bai in a few steps, as if frightened by my appearance. Mila Bai silently retreated 2 steps, while Theo Lin immediately positioned himself between us. What are you trying to do again? Look at yourself. Utterly disgraceful, without dwelling on Theo Lin's humiliation. I pinched my thigh hard, trying to calm myself down. I've realized my mistake today. I'm sorry to you and Comrade Bai. I just thought the baby was adorable and wanted to get closer. Oh right, sister-in-law just lost her child. As soon as the words left her mouth, Mila Bai seemed to realize she had spoken out of turn and glanced awkwardly at Theo Lin. Noticing Theo Lin's uncomfortable expression, I forced an awkward smile and asked, may I hold the baby? This time, Theo Lin didn't speak. And Mila Bai handed the child to me. I held my little treasure tightly, but my heart was bleeding inside. Taking advantage of their inattention, I quickly plucked a few strands of hair from the baby's head. The child's wailing inevitably led Theo Lin to humiliate me once again, but I don't care anymore. As long as I can get the evidence to bring my child back, I don't mind what you do. Carefully storing away the hair, early the next morning, before the doctor even arrived at work, I was already waiting at the office door. After an hour, I finally handed a bag to the doctor. Inside was not just proof of the blood ties between mother and child, but also the beginning of our beautiful life together. I really want to see if Mila Bai can still be tender and affectionate toward Theo Lin after finding out her child is fake. After handling the hospital matters, I dragged my heavy steps back to the residential compound. I lost my job at the textile factory and need to find another one. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but I feel like the wives in the residential compound have been secretly eyeing me. Finally, it was Sky Wang who cleared things up for me, apparently. There's a rumor going around that I tried to steal Mila Bai's job, but Theo Lin, being fair and impartial, didn't let me succeed. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. Sky Wang gave a light pat on the back of my hand. How can you still laugh at a time like this? I don't believe for a second that you'd steal someone's job. You're the type who wouldn't even take an extra dumpling in the cafeteria. How could you possibly do such a thing? Tell me what really happened. And I'll help you debunk the rumors. If this keeps spreading, you'll become the most hated person in the institute. Seeing how indignant Sky Wang was, I explained the whole situation to her. Listening to this, Sky Wang's expression gradually turned fierce, and in the end, she even slapped her own thigh hard. Those 2 shameless things deserved to be drowned in a pig cage. Then, as if afraid I might get angry, she stuck out her tongue and added, Regiment Commander Lin must have been deceived by that little bitch Mila Bai. Normally, he's the most considerate person. Don't worry, once he comes to his senses, he'll surely regret it. Wait, in my past life, I waited a lifetime, until I was buried in the ground. And the one he loved most in his heart was still Mila Bai. Alright, don't be angry, I'm fine. Let the people in the courtyard say whatever they want. If someone really believes in rumors, it's good to keep them at a distance. Otherwise, if she does something wrong and gets struck by lightning, it might drag us down too. Seeing that I was fine, Sky Wang finally left with relief. Theo Lin also seemed to have a guilty conscience these days, coming back early every day to do this and that, unlike before when he would visit the Bai family daily, claiming that since his comrade was gone, Mila Bai was having a hard time, and as childhood friends, she naturally needed more care, of course. If it weren't for her husband's death, you wouldn't have had the chance to show off. You've always been her inferior since childhood. Considering the appraisal report hadn't been obtained, Theo Lin didn't bring it up, so I temporarily put the divorce matter on hold. In the morning, as usual, I took my clothes to the riverbank to wash them, but unexpectedly, I spotted Director Zhao from the textile factory peering in my direction. Director Zhao is here. Could it be to investigate Song Qiao's impersonation incident? Indeed, after such a major scandal, it's hard to imagine how she still has the nerve to stay in the residential compound. It's all thanks to Captain Lin and Comrade by being too kind-hearted. I set down the mallet in my hand, tuning out the surrounding noise, wiped my hands dry, and walked straight toward Director Zhao. Is there something you need, Director Zhao? Comrade Song, I finally found you, about that last incident. I'm really sorry, you rightfully earned first place with your skills, but in the end, Sai, I have to say, your family's regimental commander Lin has high principles, but he didn't mention that Comrade Bai doesn't know the first thing about embroidery. She can't even do basic mending as well as the workers in our factory. I mean, I was hiring an embroiderer, not bringing in a princess to be waited on. Director Zhao's wrinkled face twisted like a chrysanthemum as he poured out his grievances. Being a military man himself, he was accustomed to speaking at the top of his voice, so all the neighboring wives overheard his words. In an instant, everyone exchanged meaningful glances, their expressions a sight to behold. What's the point of saying all this now, Director Zhao? My old Lin has high political consciousness. I can't compare. Hearing this, Director Zhao sighed. I really don't know what Regimental Commander Lin was thinking. Not helping his own wife is one thing, but giving away the job she worked so hard for to an outsider. He may have high consciousness, but I'm the one suffering for it. What else could he have been thinking? Of course, love conquers all. Suddenly changing the topic, Director Zhao gave himself a hard slap on the forehead. I came to you for serious business, and here I am just complaining. Hearing this, I abruptly looked up, my eyes shining brightly at Director Zhao. What's the urgent matter, Director Zhao? Spit it out already. You're quite the impatient one, girl. I like that. It's just that Mila Bai isn't up to the task, and we've received a foreign exchange order from France for an embroidered peony painting. To make matters worse, our veteran embroiderer's eyesight is failing, and her hands are injured too. I'm truly at my wit's end. So, how about you take on this order and help me out of this bind? While I can't offer you a permanent position at the factory, I'll give you 70% of the profits from this order, and all materials will be provided by us. Seeing my expressionless face, Director Zhao added with visible reluctance, besides, this is your chance to prove yourself. Once your work is completed, no one will dare gossip about you again. At this point, Director Zhao raised his voice even louder and glanced around at the other women in the workshop. Looking at the amusing little old man before me, I couldn't help but laugh. Aside from Sky Wang, he's the second person who cared enough to help me explain and defend against the gossip. Yet my dear husband never even considered speaking up for me to dispel the rumors. In fact, he seemed eager to heap all the credit on Mila Bai while leaving me to shoulder all the blame. Alright, I accept. I'll take this job, then let's not waste any time. Let's go to the factory now to get the materials. This order needs to be delivered in just 15 days. Hearing this, my vision darkened. 15 days, I'd have to work non-stop. Seeing the worry on my face, Factory Director Zhao gave a guilty chuckle. 70% of the profits, at the current price of embroidery, and earning foreign exchange from France at that. This single order might cover a whole year's expenses for my mother and me. No matter what, I had to seize this opportunity. By the time the embroidery is submitted and the money is in hand, the report should also be ready, and I can divorce Theo Lin. I'll take my little one far away from them, As I walked toward the supply and marketing cooperative, I daydreamed about the wonderful life ahead. It turned out the factory was missing one color of embroidery thread, yet it was essential for completing the peony design. Fortunately, my grandmother taught me more than just embroidery skills. I never expected to see Theo Lin and Mila Bai at the supply and marketing cooperative. Mila Bai was wearing a soft yellow dress with a pair of little leather shoes, looking utterly charming. Theo Lin was holding up a pink dress to compare it against Mila Bai, and the two of them kept exchanging smiles. Whatever Theo Lin said made Mila Bai playfully swat his arm, eliciting a doting laugh from him. It was so sweet it made your teeth ache. No wonder Theo Lin's stipend always seemed stretched thin. As a regiment commander, our standard of living was worse than even the squad leaders under his command. So this is where you all were. I didn't mean to disturb them. I was just about to leave after buying what I needed when Mila Bai noticed me. Her fair little face was full of panic. Sis-in-law, don't misunderstand. Brother Lin is just helping me pick out some things for the baby. I was worried I couldn't carry everything alone. It's fine. Buy more if you need to. The baby's at that growing age now. Get whatever they'll use. If it's not enough, I still have Theo Lin's allowance from last month here. As I spoke, I took out all the money from my pocket and handed it to the salesperson, casually picking out several sets of adorable little clothes and toys, completely ignoring the strange looks from those two. Bye, give my little one the best. After all, Theo Lin's money is there to be spent. Jojo, you're so kind. Watching the salesperson pack up the large and small bags, Theo Lin movedly stepped forward and took my hand. Mila Bai's face instantly fell, forcing out a stiff smile. Brother Lu, you should accompany your wife for a stroll. I'll head back first after buying the baby's things. Without even glancing at me, she turned and left. Seeing his beloved's pale face, Theo Lin's heart ached. Ciao ciao, you go back by yourself. Mila has too many things to carry. I'll see her off. With that, he hurried after her. Seeing him like this, surprisingly, my heart remained calm. I carried my things and went home. What lay ahead was going to be a tough battle. So for the next 15 days, I worked tirelessly on the peony embroidery, taking short naps when exhausted and nibbling on steamed buns when hungry, toiling day and night. After enduring a week of cold pots and stoves at home, Theo Lin finally couldn't take it anymore. I thought you had grown up, but I didn't expect you to still be so petty. Song Chiao, do you really have to compete with Mila in embroidery? I do my own thing. What does it have to do with Mila Bai? What, do you want to give this embroidery to her too? I was just speaking offhand, but I didn't expect a trace of embarrassment to flash across Theo Lin's face. After a long pause, he finally replied, what nonsense are you talking? I'm just venting because I'm stuck eating cafeteria food every day. Forget it, forget it. I can't be bothered to argue with you. If you want to embroider, go ahead. I'd love to see what kind of flowers a village girl like you can stitch. With that, he turned and walked away, his steps carrying an almost flustered air. Finally, after working day and night, the peony embroidery was completed. After checking it over and finding no major issues, I could hand it over to Factory Director Zhao tomorrow. Just looking at my inexplicably loosened waistband, I couldn't help but laugh wryly. I was already thin. And now I'm really going to turn into a skeleton. With these thoughts, I drifted off to sleep just like that. Having completed the task, I slept soundly and peacefully, only waking when the sunlight had already reached my bed. After finishing my morning routine, I was ready to take the packaged embroidery to deliver to Director Zhao, but couldn't find it. Could I have misplaced it yesterday in my dazed state? So I turned the house upside down, even uncovering some random odds and ends. But the embroidery was nowhere to be found. Impossible. How could it just disappear? Something must be wrong. I was pacing around the house in frustration. Suddenly, a thought struck me, filling my heart with sorrow, but there was no time for grief. I had to sprint straight to the textile factory. Hey, Xiao Song, you're here. Let me take a look at your embroidery. Coincidentally, Comrade Bai also submitted a peony design. Her needlework is truly exceptional. Even surpassing the veteran masters in the factory, it bears a striking resemblance to the handkerchief you submitted last time. As soon as I entered, Director Zhao enthusiastically called me over, but I couldn't focus on anything at that moment. My eyes were fixed solely on the embroidery piece Mila Bai had submitted. It was unmistakably the peony design I had spent 15 sleepless days and nights completing. Only now, it bore someone else's name. having lived 2 lifetimes. I thought I was invulnerable to all poisons, yet I never imagined how little I truly knew about the husband I had shared a bed with for over 30 years, for the sake of his beloved, knowing full well how important this embroidery was to me. He actually stooped so low as to steal his own wife's work. The people around me kept praising Mila Bai's unparalleled embroidery skills, saying they had misunderstood her before. She was truly a master. Their endless chatter made my head throb with each word. Sister-in-law, have you brought your embroidery, or are you here to apologize because you couldn't finish it? But it's all right. Sister-in-law can take a look at this peony embroidery I made. Maybe you'll find some inspiration. Watching Mila Bai's smug face, the last thread of patience in my mind finally snapped. In a few strides, I rushed up to her, grabbing her hair with my left hand while my right hand kept slapping her face. I beat her until she curled up on the ground. Just then, I gave her a hard shove, watching as she fell to the ground. Without hesitation, I sat on top of her and began slapping her face repeatedly, left and right. Come on, aren't you so capable? You shameless thief. You stole my man. You stole my job. And now you're stealing my embroidery. I've lived this long and never met someone as despicable as you. Come on, get up. What are you hiding for, you bitch? Mila Bai didn't expect me to dare strike in front of so many people and was completely stunned by my blows. The surrounding crowd, intimidated by my ferocity, didn't dare step forward to intervene. This allowed me to vent my anger thoroughly. Slap after slap, her face soon swelled up like a pig's head. The resentment I've accumulated over 2 lifetimes finally dissipated a little. Song Chiao, what are you doing? An angry male voice rang out from behind me. Theo Lin rushed forward, grabbed my collar, and yanked me away from Mila Bai, completely disregarding whether I was being choked or not. I thought even though you came from the countryside, at least you knew some basic decency. I never expected you to fight like a shrew. You've truly disappointed me, Brother Lin. I don't know what I did to upset your wife, but she just rushed at me and started hitting me. It really hurts. Mila Bai tugged at Theo Lin's sleeve, her face full of grievance as she spoke. Normally, a delicate beauty like Mila Bai acting coquettish would surely evoke sympathy. But right now, with her face swollen like a pig's head, putting on such a girlish act was somewhat comical. Sure enough, there were people in the crowd who shared my view, unable to hold back their laughter. Hearing the mocking laughter and murmurs around her, Mila Bai's movements faltered, freezing in place. Why did I do this? Don't you know? After the show ended, I turned to Theo Lin with a cold expression. Theo Lin looked at me with impatience written all over his face. The job was meant for Mila. Do you really have to hold a grudge till now, even at this point? This man still tries to evade the main issue, but I'm no longer the kind of person who would stumble over the same place twice. Theo Lin, you probably don't know this, but I had already guessed you would do this, so I left a mark on this embroidery. Hearing this, both Theo Lin and Mila Bai's faces showed panic. I don't understand what you're talking about. After a moment, Theo Lin forced himself to speak calmly. All right, you carry on, Comrade Bai. I'd like to ask, since you claim this embroidery piece is yours, do you know what stitching technique was used in it? Hearing me call her out, Mila Bai's expression changed. What stitching technique? This is a craft passed down in my family. I don't know which school it follows. At this point, the crowd seemed to grasp something and began scrutinizing Mila Bai and Theo Lin. Everyone present worked in the textile industry and understood that embroidery relies on heritage. But if you don't even know which school your technique belongs to, it's like eating bread without knowing whether it's made from high-gluten flour. Without giving them a chance to argue, I continued. You might not know this, but my family has been in the embroidery business for generations. We even have a unique technique for leaving a hidden mark on our work, something only insiders can spot, completely invisible to outsiders, without another glance at their ashen faces. I stepped forward and pointed out the mark I had left. The onlookers crowded around to see, and sure enough, it was there. Instantly, the crowd's expressions turned to scorn as they looked at the pair. Director Zhao's face darkened further. I thought I'd wronged you and was even planning to apologize, but to think you'd stoop to stealing someone else's work. This humble workshop is no place for someone like you. You're dismissed, effective today, and Commander Lin, I used to respect you as a man of honor, which is why I was willing to hear you out. But sometimes, one must open their eyes and not be blinded by foolishness, or it'll be too late for regrets. Regret. How could Theo Lin ever regret standing by the one he loves through thick and thin? Enough, it's just a piece of embroidery. What's the big deal? Mila may not be able to create something like this, but she's kind and pure-hearted. If I hadn't begged her to take it, she wouldn't have even considered submitting Song Qiao's embroidery. If you have a problem, take it up with me. Besides, Song Qiao, why are you being so petty? It's truly small-minded and shows a lack of sophistication. Just apologize to Mila today, and we'll consider the matter closed. I won't even hold it against you for hitting him. To my surprise, upon hearing Director Zhao's words, Theo Lin not only failed to reflect on his actions but instead stepped in front of Mila Bai, indignantly speaking out, completely oblivious to the array of expressions on everyone's faces as he finished. Perfect, I was just struggling to find a reason to divorce Theo Lin. Hearing this, I pretended to be angry and shed tears. Then stepped forward and gave Theo Lin 2 kicks. Apologize my ass, you're entangled with this little bitch, and you still want me to apologize. Why don't you just kill me so you two can fly off together? How dare you use comradeship as an excuse to do such disgusting things? What? Were you taking care of your comrade's widow by climbing into her bed? I frantically scratched Theo Lin's face over and over. To protect Mila Bai, he didn't dare fight back and could only let me hit him. And you? Mila Bai, always pretending to be some innocent little flower. The moment your husband died you started looking for the next man, wasting all your energy trying to steal someone else's husband instead of properly taking care of your own child. Thinking of my child, I hit them even harder. In the end, it was Director Zhao and the others who feared I might seriously hurt someone and get into trouble themselves, so they pulled me away. The 2 men also took advantage of the chaos to slink away in disgrace. Although they left, with so many people present, their reputation was already ruined. You're quite the fierce little one, aren't you? The crowd scattered, and Director Zhao looked at me with an indescribable expression. I chuckled foolishly, took the payment, exchanged it for a bank deposit, and then leisurely made my way back to the residential compound. Little did I expect that even more people would be secretly eyeing me this time. Song Qiao, well done, Song Qiao, we support you. Looking at the sisters-in-law cheering me on, I felt a warm current flow through my chest. It was strangely comforting, afraid that I wouldn't be able to handle Theo Lin when I got home. Despite my repeated refusals, the sisters-in-law still escorted me back and refused to leave, glaring at me from the yard. Xiao Song, go in and do whatever you want. If anything happens, just shout, and we'll rush in to help you deal with that shameless man. The speaker was the wife of Political Commissar Li from the military district, who had always been the leader among the sisters-in-law in the residential compound. I never expected even she would get involved this time. Thank you, sisters-in-law. Wait for my good news. With that, I strode confidently through the door. In the dimly lit room, Theo Lin sat on the sofa with an unreadable expression. Song Qiao, stop making a scene. Mila and I just grew up together, so I can't help but want to take extra care of her. Tomorrow, go to the broadcasting station and clarify that it was all your misunderstanding, that you overthought things between me and Mila, then we can put this matter behind us. Otherwise, if Mila's reputation is ruined because of this, or if my promotion is delayed, how could you live with yourself? Theo Lin roughly ran his fingers through his hair, his voice gruff as he spoke. Watching him act like a rabid dog brought me immense satisfaction. Theo Lin, I want a divorce. Theo Lin seemed stunned, staring at me blankly as if he hadn't processed my words. Divorce? You're just a country girl. What could you possibly do without me? Picking trash would be better than staying with a piece of garbage like you. If you don't divorce, the entire residential compound will find out that Mila Bai seduced a married man. But if you do, no one will gossip about the 2 of you being together anymore. Hearing this, Theo Lin was tempted. As if fearing damage to Mila Bai's reputation, Theo Lin submitted the report that very afternoon. The next day, we went to get our divorce certificate. After 2 lifetimes, I've finally escaped this nightmare that belonged to me. Once I get Xiaobao back, I can embrace my new life. On the day I received the paternity test results, I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. My little one is 4 months old and finally going to be back in mommy's arms. Soon, I prepared the paternity report along with evidence of Theo Lin and Mila Bai's affair, then knocked on the political commissar's door. It was Mrs. Li who answered. Yes, not only do I have the paternity report, but now I also have their correspondence in my hands. The content is so explicit it's hard to look at. I should actually thank them for taking my embroidery, otherwise I wouldn't have found these things while searching the house. Upon hearing my purpose and seeing the evidence I presented, Political Commissar Lee's face turned dark with anger, while Mrs. Lee looked indignant, muttering under her breath, "Laro Lee, you can't let people like this stay and ruin the morale of our team. They're truly two rotten apples. If we don't impose severe punishment this time, it will surely dishearten us military wives on the home front. Who knows if you're all in cahoots?" Hearing this, Political Commissar Lee smiled helplessly. "Don't worry, Comrade Song, I'll handle this matter impartially, or else my old lady at home will never let me hear the end of it." At these words, Sister-in-law Lee and I exchanged a knowing smile, given the seriousness of the situation. Emergency measures were taken, and the results came out swiftly. The day I went to pick up the child, Mila Bai clung tightly and refused to let go, shouting loudly, "This is my baby. Theo Lin gave him to me, so he's mine." Turns out, she actually knew this wasn't her child. I'm afraid she only kept my little one to have more chances to see Theo Lin. Afraid of hurting the child, I didn't dare to snatch him. Fortunately, a soldier noticed something was wrong and went around to knock Mila Bai unconscious from behind. Looking at the child in my arms, whom I had lost and found again, I cried tears of joy. Beside me, Theo Lin wore an expression of utter disbelief. It made sense. He had always believed he was the one who saved Mila Bai, never realizing he had been the joke all along. As I was about to leave with the child, Theo Lin chased after me. "I'm sorry, my dear, I was wrong. I was blinded by foolishness. It was all Mila Bai who deceived me. Please forgive me. Let's remarry and raise our baby together. I'll be good to you and our child. I beg you to forgive me." Seeing my unchanged expression, Theo Lin grew desperate, his eyes reddening as he suddenly knelt on the ground with a thud. "My dear, I beg you. I can't live without you and our baby." Without paying any more attention to the pleading voices behind me, I held my baby and walked away from this residential compound without looking back, a place that had carried the sorrow and pain of 2 lifetimes for me. With my startup funds in hand and my little one in my arms, I boarded a southbound train, where I would embrace a brand new life.